You're watching Notepad. I'm your host, Ibrahim Sani. Today we shall talk about Axiata's digital marketing arm, ADA. Very recently, Japan's SoftBank is planning to invest 60 million US dollars or about 247 million ringgit into the company. This is Axiata Group Bhd's Data Analytics and Artificial Intelligence Unit, or ADA. They plan to establish a core digital and marketing data partner here in Asia. So to talk about this and more, I have with me Srinivas talking about the CEO of ADA. Srinivas Gattamneni has been with the company for a certain number of years now, and he is particularly well versed not only in the business but also in this particular deal. Srini, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
It's great to be here. Thanks you.
So let's talk about some of the core details about the deal. This is putting the valuation of ADA at 1 billion ringgit. This is also making you guys quite the possible unicorn, if not already a unicorn out there in the Malaysian startup scene. Let's talk about some of the value propositions that you guys bring onto the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So we essentially help a lot of brands go digital from a marketing point of view, from a sales point of view. Our core differentiation, of course, lies in exactly the description you spoke about, which is we are a data and analytics led business that helps brands get onto the whole digital marketing solutions. So essentially what we basically do is we provide a lot of analytics to brands. We help them with their kind of digital creatives and personalization. We do a lot of media execution, especially on digital marketing channels. And then finally help them with a lot of marketing technology and get onto e-commerce. And this is partly the reason why we've been extremely successful. And of course, I mean, the whole world is moving to digital, consumers are moving to digital, and largely brands are also moving, of course, to digital landscape.
Now let's talk a little bit more about SoftBank then, because this is the second Japanese partner that ADA is building with. Sumitomo was the first one 3 years ago with 20 million US being injected. Now we're looking at a further 60 million US. What are you guys going to do with the cash?
Yeah, so the SoftBank deal has basically two main legs. The first leg is, of course, they've injected 250 million ringgit or circa $60 million into ADA. So that investment will largely go towards building more and more of our data and AI capabilities across the region. We will also be investing towards automation in the whole marketing funnel, right from media planning and spending, as well as the whole creative automation. Apart from the money, of course, SoftBank also has quite a large amount of assets globally, as well as, of course, in Southeast Asia through their kind of affiliate businesses, their investments. So we've also formed a business alliance with them to kind of be able to bring over some of the technology like customer data platforms, etc., into the region for our customers. And secondly, also work with some of their local investments, which they have made over the last many years.
So Axiata's Group CEO, Dato' Izzadin, has been quoted as saying that because of the partnership that ADA is building with SoftBank, you guys have a target or a stated target of building $2 billion US business across Southeast Asia within the next 5 years. Is this attainable still?
It is. I mean, if you look at basically our past track record and growth, we've been growing almost at 70% year on year in terms of gross revenue. And we've also delivered 2 years of strong bottom line growth as well. Now, if you look at the total market opportunity, I mean, it is humongous because it's broken up into e-commerce, which pretty much every brand is targeting. I mean, e-commerce alone in Southeast Asia is more than $100 billion opportunity. Marketing technology is another 10 billion opportunity for brands to get onto marketing technology. Then, of course, there are additional value pools in whole creative execution, as well as the whole digital marketing and digital planning. So overall, we believe we are hitting almost 120 billion market opportunity across the region. And hence, we do hope to capture a significant market share within that to build towards our dream of being a $2 billion business.
So I want to ask you about a few things in your line of work. First of all, big data platforms. People have been talking about this all the time, but you have clients that have trouble getting, just the basics up and running. Some of the executives or CEOs might not even know how to, do a Zoom call early on in the pandemic. So when you see these things or these behaviors being exhibited by the executives, and it doesn't tally with the kind of rank and file people that you work with, which is really good, really smart in terms of getting the big data platforms up and running. How do you reconcile with working with clients that have a mismatch in terms of CEOs that might not know so much about big data versus the people inside their company that knows a lot about it?
Yeah, that's a great point, Ibrahim. So essentially, if you look at what has happened is that maybe 4 years back, that was a situation. But pandemic and especially COVID-19 has really accelerated most companies' whole digital transformation. So it's maybe just to give you an example, the pre-pandemic, a lot of conversation about how to measure digitization in the whole marketing space was generally, hey, what percentage of my media is being shifted from traditional media to digital, for example, from out-of-home or TV advertising across to maybe Facebook, Google, etc. So that was the main measure for a lot of CEOs. Now, the biggest measure especially post-COVID-19 is what percentage of my sales and revenue are coming from digital channels. So it is really now impacting their financials because especially, consumers have moved digital. They want to buy via digital channels. So that's naturally suddenly created a big sense of urgency. So lots of brands have now launched direct to consumer apps, websites. We all go to these apps and websites. We transact. Now that's leaving a lot of digital footprint, data footprint for brands. Now, of course, they need help from companies like us and other companies to kind of put in the marketing technology, understand how to use all the data footprint that's being left by these consumers, upsell, cross-sell. I mean, companies and boards are quickly scrambling to get onto this and kind of transform themselves. And hence,
I'm not disputing their want to get on board of this. I'm looking at the execution level. That's my contention right now, because some of the companies that I've spoken to, they are very interested in getting this done, but they might not know how. And because of them not knowing how, they might impede on their own people making it work. That's the gap that I'm looking at. Do you see that your role is also bridging the gap between the board and the management with their own people in making it work a reality in terms of executing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe there are a few elements. I would say, pretty much all companies have started to do this, right? If you saw the recent news from Petronas, where they said, I think the whole digital transformation is first transforming their people. So there is a lot of upskilling that is going on, lots of data, digital talent training. They're also, of course, trying to bring in a lot of digital talent in. There is a dearth of digital talent out there for sure. The way we think about this, how do we solve this problem, is not necessarily teach everyone the innards of data and AI and everything else, but it's really bridge that with the business outcomes that they're looking for. So it's not just about going and talking about a technology, but really say, hey, how does this piece of technology and data really give you that revenue upliftment, will save you, will drive more efficiency in your media, so they can see tangible impact. And really, not everyone and not all the executives need to understand every portion of the data and AI, etc. It is a very complex, deep field, and we don't expect that they will.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the shape and size of the clients that you're going to be working with, or you have been working with. When you were talking about companies launching DTC products, you're talking about companies that are trying to diversify their product channel. It seems like a lot of your clients are consumer-driven clients. Do you feel that this is an opportunity for you to also expand into B2B kind of clients that you have? Perhaps companies that work with other businesses. Is that an option for you guys?
Not immediately. Of course, we do help a few B2B clients, but you're absolutely right. The biggest client base for us remains the more B2C. For us, if you look at our client base, almost 30 to 40% of our business comes from banking and financial services. insurance. The next biggest one is telcos, then it's consumer product companies, and now increasingly retail and automotive. They remain the core segment for us. That's where we add significant value in lots of consumer insights. And then how does that translate into creative and media? The B2B businesses, of course, are looking at digitizing some of their marketing funnel and, of course, sales funnels, but our focus largely remains around B2C.
So Axiata is existing in a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, as well as in the subcontinent and beyond. How is ADA's geography market looking like? Is it going to shadow Axiata, or you guys are going on a different trajectory on your own?
So we are in all countries that Axiata has telco operations. But in addition, we are also in some additional markets. So overall, ADA now is across 9 countries across South and Southeast Asia. So in addition to Axiata footprint, we are in Singapore, we are also in Philippines, we are in Thailand, we are in South Korea. And within the Axiata footprint, we are definitely in Malaysia, we're in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal as well. We do think sometimes, a lot of times, digital businesses are kind of borderless. So we've kind of said that South and Southeast Asia is probably our kind of core region, and that's where we will focus more and more efforts around.
We all know that the telco sector is heavily regulated, restrictively so, in fact, and a consumer like me wouldn't want it any other way because of the kind of sensitive infrastructure that is put in place. But you're right, digital businesses like ADA is geographically agnostic, I would call it. But would there be some sense of regulation that needs to be imposed on businesses like yourselves, particularly when you involve in handling sensitive data through your business of big data?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, data privacy is the biggest regulation that we adhere to. So the way we kind of handle that is quite simple. The way we think about it is, can we uphold ourselves to some of the strictest data privacy regulations out there, and then always operate with that lens. The minute you do that, then despite any regulatory changes, etc., I mean, you always uphold yourself to the strictest one, then I think you're pretty safe. So we look to GDPR, of course, from European Union as some of the fundamentals in terms of how do you process personally identifiable data. If you do process it, you have to get consent, you have to provide transparency, the right to delete it, the right to modify it. I mean, all those aspects of it. But generally, sorry.
It seems like you guys are self-regulating. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to. I mean, we work with some major brands out there, and we have to be extremely kosher about how we handle any kind of PII information. And not just because of that. Also, our parentage is Axiata Group. And as you said, the telcos are heavily regulated. Only within telcos, there's a chief privacy officer. And naturally, we have a lot of that DNA also in our organization.
Okay, self-regulation is important, and I trust you guys can do that job well, but there's also a sense of importance for us to get the authorities in. And right now, like I said, the digital businesses is not regulated by authorities the way other industries are. Would you feel that this would be the need for a case to be built on, particularly when you deal with sensitive data?
Yeah, I absolutely believe so, and I think it is important. I mean, it is important for the ecosystem to flourish, not to contain it, because once the whole regulation and the laws are clear, then you know pretty much black and white what you can or cannot do.
Yeah.
So it kind of removes the gray area. So we actually welcome that, and I think it will build a lot of trust in consumers also in terms of being able to share the data. I mean, if you ask most consumers, they do want to share data because you want to see relevant content, you want to see relevant ads, but they want it in a safe manner. That's the I think that's the key thing here.
or at least have the option to opt out, right? I mean, consumers at least must have that. The latest iOS update allows me to do that, so it gives me some sort of confidence. I don't know how much that that would mean in terms of consumers using, businesses using my data, but having that option to say not to track across my devices, that gives me some sort of assurance. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the biggest problem that I think, in fact, I know you're going to have, which is talent. Building a good business is a smart idea. Building, places and markets that are either nascent or quite developed is also quite a fun thing to navigate. But the worst thing that you have to deal with right now are people actually doing the job, the downright dirty job of big data. A lot of people say they can do it, and then when proof comes to the pudding, not many people can pull it off. I've had my fair share of doing this, and I can admit this is not my cup of tea. Do you think that this industry is going to survive? Because I don't know whether there's enough talent to go about. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have a lens that, hey, I need talent that has all the experience already, I mean, you're going to struggle to kind of get that kind of talent at scale. I think you'll always have to kind of think about what talent can I get and how can we upskill this talent. So we focus quite a lot on, of course, fresh grads. How can we bring them into the workforce? How can we train them? And a lot of training it's not classroom-based training. It's a lot of experimentation. It's learning on the job. It's trying different things. Similarly for folks across industry. But I think the most important, I would say, cultural thing that at least we try to do in our organization is this concept of a growth mindset. You have to keep replenishing your knowledge base. So we say, I mean, internally that, hey, the half-life of your knowledge of anyone in our organization is probably 18 months. So in 18 months, half of your knowledge is probably going to be irrelevant. So the only option you have is to keep learning, experimenting, and actually growing along with it.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anybody explain, half-life knowledge, but it makes sense, right? Srini, I want to also ask you some of the risks that are involved in your businesses, particularly in a pandemic situation. Malaysia is trying our best to get out of this, but while we are busy vaccinating people, it seems like cases are really rising. This has impacted businesses, livelihood, people can't go to work, people can't do work, those kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure it's the same across the countries that you guys operate in as well. So how do you guys navigate through these very difficult times?
Yeah, so I mean, when first, I mean, kind of COVID-19 hit us all, I mean, we did a bit of an analysis very early on in terms of trying to understand which industry sectors are resilient against it, which industry sectors are more affected. How can we internally build kind of an agile approach to continue to serve those who require the services, but at the same time help out those who might be still more in kind of on a waiting game until kind of economy kind of opens up, and that's, I mean, typically travel, transportation type of industries. So we are, I mean, but fortunately, I think from a business point of view, I mean, if you look at there's been general resilience across most sectors, and they continue to of course spend on media. But more importantly, the silver lining has been, of course, this big shift to digital. Whether they spend on traditional media or not, they're definitely looking at investing quite a lot around kind of the guardrails for the future, more around marketing technology, more around AI, data, big data platforms, and kind of preparing themselves for the future. So, I mean, our business, despite the pandemic last year, grew 37% year on year. I mean, we expect this year it'll continue to grow probably at least 80 to 100% year on year into 2021. And so far, Q1 has been pretty strong. We have grown almost 95% year on year compared to last year.
All right. Srini, we'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the business synergy between ADA and SoftBank. Welcome back. I have with me Srinivas Gattamneni, the CEO of ADA, or Axiata's digital arm, I suppose. Srini, let's talk about the synergy between ADA and SoftBank. We don't have much time left, but I really want to deep dive into the CDP, or the Customer Data Platform of SoftBank, and also their, well, quite familiar product for most of us, or some of us at least, Line. I have it on my phone. I don't use it, so how do you intend to leverage on SoftBank's, I guess, assets to grow your business?
Yeah, I would separate SoftBank assets into maybe two main types, right? One is their kind of technology assets, which is kind of global tech. One of the, I mean, out of those, for example, they have businesses like Treasure Data, which is a customer data platform. This platform enables brands to kind of put all the consumer data into one single place, and then be able to segment it, be able to activate them, be able to upsell, cross-sell, depending on kind of interests, affinities of their consumers as they understand them more. They have other technology like Sinara, which helps with understanding telco data and how can you help drive insights out of that for the use of enterprises and brands. So they have many such businesses, which are kind of global businesses, and we are looking to bring them into Southeast Asia for the benefit of our customers and brands here. The second area is exactly as you spoke about, their kind of digital businesses that are operating in our region. You spoke about Line. I mean, Line is extremely popular in Thailand. It's gaining a lot of popularity in Indonesia as well. So our job there is how can we kind of bridge Line to the enterprises and brands that want to leverage all those consumers sitting online in those markets. Apart from that, of course, as part of SoftBank Vision Fund, they have a whole bunch of businesses, including Tokopedia, Grab. So we are also looking at how can we help brands get onto these super apps and drive kind of their e-commerce sales on these.
Yeah, so actually I was about to ask you that. Is there any is there any pressure? I can't use any other word, I suppose, by SoftBank for you guys to work with their other investee companies like Grab, like Tokopedia?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's pressure. I think it's business synergy, right? We are as much looking forward to that synergy. How can we bring some of those capabilities for brands, etc. Today, brands only have a few limited channels to get to audiences at scale. Some of these audiences sitting on these super apps are extremely lucrative for them. So, I mean, we are actually looking forward to it. In fact, I'm hoping to pressure SoftBank on how they can give us more and more access to this.
I mean, SoftBank, based on this deal, it's reported that SoftBank will hold 23.07% stake in ADA. I'm sure they have some form of power or pull, at least, in terms of how the business direction is going to take. How has that been for ADA?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, it's been an alignment right from day one since we met them. And by the way, just an interesting side note, right? I mean, the whole deal happened virtually right from the first meeting to kind of deal closure, given, I guess, the times we are in.
Yeah, read about that. That's just insane. I mean,
yeah.
I'm moving forward. I suppose this is going to be the way it's done, right? I mean, face to face is nice, but if you can do it over a Zoom call or whatever, I'm sure it can be done.
Yeah, and I think that the reason I brought that up is because that's a testament of the deep alignment in terms of thinking. I think once you have kind of thinking alignment in terms of, hey, where is the world headed? What is the big digital opportunity and value pools? Then naturally, it's easier for just companies to align. And I think that's the alignment we've always had with them. They have been extremely successful in Japan, building a very, very large digital advertising business. They are looking at ADA, at kind of replicating that in the region, so to speak.
Srini, well, again, we don't have much time left, but I just want to get two questions out there. First is size matters in your line of work, and Gojek and Tokopedia's holding group is merging to make this blockbuster IPO of a deal called Goto. And do you feel that if ADA doesn't either merge or partner up with these kind of big guys, you guys are going to be left out in terms of how the business is going to be done? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we have to partner. We are always looking at how can we partner with them. I mean, we will partner with anyone who has lots of audiences, consumer engagement platforms, because that's what our customers also want from us. So we are actually looking forward to a lot of partnerships in this space.
So does this mean that ADA is open to being bought at or buying after other businesses as well? I mean, what would Axiata say?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an acquisition or an investment or equity type of arrangement. A lot of strategic partnerships I think, can go a long way in supporting the ecosystem.
Okay, and the final question is on the ongoing deal between Celcom and DG. Is this going to impact your business in any shape or form?
For us, I'm looking forward to a much larger entity that we can support as part of their kind of digitization requirements. Right now, Celcom is an internal customer for us, and now I'm looking to a bigger customer.
Well, that's not fair. I mean, Celcom is part of Axiata. Of course, it's your internal customer. But yeah, I really do wish you all the best. And you know, my personal opinion is that when I spoke to Datuk Izzadin of Axiata, I was also of the opinion that this kind of industries, you can't have multiple players. You have to have some sort of consolidation. And you know, the whole economic business theory of, you know, not having monopoly is a good idea for consumers. Yeah, I guess, but we're not talking about monopoly here. We're talking about consolidation of size, I guess. And you know, in the US, they have this problem of being too big. I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I think companies like yourselves need to get big first. And SoftBank injecting 60 million, bringing it to a valuation of 1 billion is a good start to begin with. Srini, I wish you all the best. That was Srinivas Gattamneni, the CEO of ADA. If you've missed any part of this interview, just head on to AWANI.com, look for ADA, look for Axiata, or also look for other interviews like this that can be found there. Until then, thanks very much for watching. Srini, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.